So hello, and as a last speaker I was just thinking I will tell you something about my role as an Agile coach, how I see it in the organizations. And what the Agile is really about from my perspective. So surprisingly, it's not about the practices, even though many teams where I came to were thinking about that. They thought it's about all these nice extreme programming practices, Scrum practices, and so on and so on. It's not about the processes either. So the thing is that so they're asking sometimes like the Scrum and XP and Kanban are useless. Well, not that quite. They are sometimes not what we expect. They are sometimes not solving all our problems. They are not silver bullets. So we have to solve our problems. And Agile will just show us how to do that. But Agile is a philosophy. So going around the companies, I saw many different environments, and it is kind of a religion. So to be Agile, you belong to some group, we have the same goals, we have the same spirit, same kind of a culture, and sometimes it's even a sect. So they are asking, is that allowed in Scrum? Can we do that? I don't know. It's not a sect, it's just some kind of a philosophy. It's more like Buddhism or Hinduism than really a strict sect which would tell you what exactly you should be doing. So that's one of the things. And finally, Agile to me is a culture. It's based on individual people, and if they reject Agile, there is no way how to go over it. So if the individual people who are really working in the company are saying we don't want it, we are not going to be Agile, and we don't want to even try, then it's very hard. And it's very hard to buy their attention and really try it. And the bigger the organization is, the more difficult the task is. But finally, at the end, it's about the organization change. And the change which has to be in place for the organization to be Agile is not about the org chart. I will be talking about it later on. But the whole organization will change eventually. But how it all starts? Well, it starts as some kind of method within the IT team, within our software guys. It's pretty safe. We are just changing IT. It's another process. There's nothing really huge or big. For a small company, for a small organization, it's usually not a big change even. Well, there are not really huge walls between the business and IT yet. They still can talk to each other. And putting the Scrum in place, they will just say, well, it's not too far away while we've been working this way. It's quite natural for us. We still remember it. When I started work for the company 5 years ago, we've been working exactly like that. We've been helping each other. There was no over-specialization. And there is usually no problem of finding a real product owner who is responsible for the product, because the organization is small and they can talk to each other. If you have a middle-sized company, then it's a bit different. A little bit. There are already some walls between the departments. There are usually some sales or business units who are just and don't really talk to the IT guys. Just throwing to the IT and expecting the result exactly the quality they agreed on with the customer. And these companies are already starting to prefer the specialization, so they are thinking about the allocation, they are thinking about the hard measures of being efficient, and there is usually no real team, but they still know each other, so it's quite easy to implement Agile in such a company. It's at least understandable problem. Well, and then you have a large corporations. And what does it mean? They're over-specialized? It's not even about one group within IT. They have 20 groups of different specialized IT engineers. They don't talk to each other. They have large infrastructures, which are difficult. They have all these allocations for individual people for 1 hour there, 1 hour there, working in parallel on 10 different projects. They have a difficult environment. And so for those large corporations, this Agile at IT team level can work just as internal team method in a quite limited scope. Well, sometimes it will help them, but not really. So, and what they usually do, they just look at all these Scrum and Agile and say, well, let's start with the stand-ups. And we can do some boards, it's quite easy. We can put some stickers on the wall and see what's happening. And the stand-ups, it's quite fun. So the result, the communication is much better. They have some interaction and some team spirit will grow. But on the other hand, they feel quite chaotic. They don't know where is the goal really, what they are doing. And they're complaining. We are all the time at some meetings. We're just talking. We don't have a time to work. And we need some other people to come. We need a business to tell us what they really want and why. They don't have a clue. So next, they are thinking about, well, okay, we will continue with the sprints, with some iterations. So we try to cut it down. We will do the similar iterations with our stand-up meetings. So every day we'll do some small loop for 1 day and share our experiences. And we'll do the planning and we'll do the customer demo. And we will try to present the functionality to our business. We try to involve them. We try to get them into our team. The question is, what's next? So next they are thinking, okay, there are some other practices. So let's do the new way of estimating, derivative estimates. And even if it feels strange, it's part of process which happened to be kind of working for us. So we should add it as well, and finally, after some time, they've got full Scrum process. The full framework. They try to do it right, but as they try to follow this kind of difficult process, they have a problem. They are missing the business more and more. And they are saying it must start at the business level, because without business we can't be truly agile. And for a small organization, they are saying, well, it's not enough. We really need someone to decide. We need someone to talk to the customers, but we still can imagine that person and we can still find it. For the huge corporations, it's quite difficult after we implement some parts of the Scrum process, even if we tried. And it's quite close to the Scrum process. The problems are much more visible. And now we can just hide below the process, and we can just hide at the steering committees anymore. We should take responsibility. And that change creates a push for business and managers. It creates a pressure. It's uncomfortable for the rest of the organization. So the only small change within the small IT team will create a huge pressure to the whole organization. And now the whole organization is trying to say, well, we don't know if we really want it. The old process was not too bad. We didn't see those problems. They've been hidden. And we can point to each other and say, well, it's your fault. It's not our fault. We as a business are fine. And we as a managers are having control over everything. So at this time, at this point of your change to Agile, you can say, well, we want to change and we will continue. and put some energy into it, or we'll just destroy it. And it's easy to say Agile is not for us. We are too small, or we are too big. We have too difficult customers. Oh, we are working for the government, so we can't be Agile because they don't want it. Or whatever else. It doesn't really matter. It's just about some excuse why not to change. So the next step of the organization with the Agile adoption is Agile at business level. So once you don't quit and you are saying, well, we are ready to invest a bit more energy because we still believe we can achieve our goals and skyrocket our success. But we have to involve the business because we can't prioritize our backlog within the IT. It's a business role. And we are missing the feedback. And we don't want to be enemy within our organization anymore. We aim together. So these team IT representatives are coming to the business person. What's that? And the person is saying, they are saying, well, we need you. And we want to understand our customer. We have to know why. It's not enough to tell us just the requirements and send us some large documentation. We have to understand it to really help you to achieve the goal. And in huge organizations, the product managers are not often really happy about that. They are saying, well, I don't have any time. I work on 10 projects in parallel. And going to your stand-ups, Erwin said, it's like every day, really? And be available? I don't have a time for that. So that's the beginning of this change. And then you continue and you are saying, well, you should decide on our priorities. You should be responsible for our product backlog and write user stories and prioritize those user stories based on business value. And there is another thing. You should be able to remove some functionality. Remove a functionality? What do you mean by removing the functionality? We have to do everything, and we have to have it on time. And some product managers are saying, well, you know, just tell me, I don't understand it. Why our business requirements or use cases are not enough? Our business analysts were writing those nice documentations for a couple of years. And it was working, so why are you saying it's not good? And what do you exactly mean by end-to-end responsibility? We have those steering committees. No, I don't want to be responsible. The steering committee is responsible. So there's a problem which in huge corporations it's quite often. They don't understand that it should be someone responsible, and they don't want to put someone responsible in place because there is too dangerous for them. And then there is another huge problem. These points, relative estimates. What the hell should we say to our customers? They're asking. We have to have mandates because the customers are asking when it will be done. And we like them anyway. We have a better feeling about these mandates. It brings some certainty. Having a mandate, we are sure what exactly will be delivered and when. So with this Agile, you are just telling us you don't know, and you are not able to commit yourself to anything. So what shall we say to our customers? And that's even more difficult that even the IT teams are sometimes saying, well, we don't know what to do with that. So we keep these mandates and we keep pretending that we knew what will happen. And that's the most strange thing. It's the same thing as if you go by a car to Vienna, for example, and then you say, well, you know, my car is taking this amount of gas every 100 kilometers, so If I take full tank of a gas, I will get it exactly to the Vienna. So you're driving, and after some time, you have no gas, your car stops going anymore. You look around, and eventually it could be possibly in Vienna, but it's not so, not really likely to be there. Most likely you are somewhere else, somewhere in front or somewhere after that city. And it's the same with velocity. You pretend you knew at the points. You pretend you knew when exactly this functionality will be done. And these product managers, they don't like it. They like to hide. And then it's about the role of a business. I guess you knew this joke about the pig and chicken, so I don't need to really explain it. But it's about finding a balance between the product owner and the team. In a large organization, there is not just a product owner. It's even more difficult. There is lots of business people. There are some users, there are some internal customers, and then there are business analysts, and there are IT analysts. There are usually two kinds of project managers, one from IT, second one from business. Then you have a business product manager who should be responsible for something, but then he's saying, well, no, there is a steering committee, and nobody really knew who is the real product owner for that team. So finding a balance in such a company, it's even more difficult. And the Scrum itself doesn't really help. So what we go to, we try to abstract the Agile and make some kind of generic process how to apply Agile at the organization level. And now the real challenge starts. Now the managers start to be afraid. And they are saying, well, we've been happy until all that Agile was hidden inside our IT departments. They've been those IT guys. They've got the problems in the past. Their software was never right. Their software was never on time. So they need some new methodology. But why the hell should we change? And we see the benefits of frequent delivery, and we saw the team which is more involved, and team health increases, and so on and so on. But why should we change our organization? Why should we change our processes? We like them. And what happened is that they feel they are losing a power. They feel small. They're not so important anymore. And the middle management is even paralyzed by fear. And they're saying, well, we may not be needed anymore. What are we going to do? And then all those stories about the free companies with no managers. Is it what you mean by Agile? Does it mean that Agile has no managers? What will happen to the managers when all the Scrum teams will be self-organized? Does it mean that they will be controlling the whole company? They will be really driving the whole company? Can they really decide whatever they want to? Well, kind of. So at the beginning, it feels like chaos from their position. They don't have a clue. It's uncertain. Who exactly is responsible for that? The team? No, there is no team responsibility. The responsibility must be for one single person. So it's a kind of a chaos. But on the other hand, once you understand it, once you understand the processes, it perfectly works. It's the same picture, just from a different angle. And the same problem is with Agile organization. They don't know how to live with it. They don't know how to control it. They don't know how to achieve it will work. How to make it work. How to be sure. But Agile is a strict process, which actually, in addition to all the benefits which could be usually expected from such a change, like flexibility, predictability, efficiency, quality, increases also the responsibility. There is a higher innovation in the company, so the individual team members are offering some innovations. They are helping you to bring some more improvements. It increases the empowerment, the buy-in. They are part of the company now. They are not just sitting there and waiting for the task to make it done. They are really thinking about the product, about the success of the whole company. And Agile itself, it creates energy. It's more fun. It's nicer to be in an Agile team. So finally, once they understand, it's not about removing all the managers. They start to think about, okay, so what is my role as a manager in an Agile organization? What do you expect from me? Because it's not about everyday tasks, but we have higher expectations. Being a manager in an Agile organization, it's closer to be a conductor of an orchestra. It's more about the strategic decisions and less about the operations and day-to-day tasks. These managers, they should create an environment where the teams can live, where the teams can breathe, where the teams can survive, and where the teams can be happy. Because the happy people, as it was already said today, are much more efficient. And then they are thinking, okay, shall we do some changes in our organization chart? But you can keep it. There is no need to change it. It's not about the org chart. Agile is a culture. It's something else. It's how we approach things. And Agile is ability. It's about ability to build teams, to build virtual teams across our organization. So you don't have to split the departments and put them into the teams. And there is one nice framework which I found, because I was struggling with how shall I explain how the people should be. What does it really mean to be Agile? And I came to this book which was called 5 Dysfunction of a Team by Patrick Lencioni, and I found out that this is exactly it. We cannot build self-organized team unless we have a trust to each other. And once we have a trust to each other, and to our managers and to our product owners and Scrum Masters, of course, we have to be able to have a kind of constructive conflict. There must not be any fear of conflict. We have to be able to say, everyone else, team member, manager, anybody, what we really feel, what we think about it. And then there is a lack of commitment. So the next step is to be able to commit to something and really keep it. Then the next step of a good team is to be accountable. So the avoidance of accountability will just prevent the team from having the energy. And inattention to result will finally altogether prevent you from having the same goal. So unless you have all these 5 steps of this model, you cannot really make a self-organized team. And the nice thing on this framework is that you could apply it at the first level on the Scrum team. But it's exactly this framework which led the organization to embrace Agile. So what we used to do at a traditional organization, we have those green, orange, and blue departments, and we have those blue manager and orange manager and blue manager responsible for their departments, and their key goal was to make the green department or orange or blue department happy. They didn't care about each other. And they've got, of course, their bosses as the red one, right person. But if we apply this framework about team cooperation to the organizational level, we find out that the Agile organization, in Agile organization, all those managers are part of two teams actually. The green manager is part of the green team, which he is responsible for, and he's trying to create so the green team can work very well. But at the same time, he's a part of the red team at the level, one level above. And the level of the red team is must be more important to him than his green team itself. And once you apply those principles, it will completely change the culture, it will completely change the priorities. And that's actually the key differentiator which will change your organization from the traditional into Agile. It's about the ability to building a team, and finally it's about the responsibility. Agile will break the walls between the people and groups, and it always prefers long-term goals instead of short-terms, and prioritize the common over individual goals and optimize the whole system, not the particular people. But it's all about responsibility. So that was pretty much about it. Thank you for attention, and if you have any questions, I will be happy to ask them.
Hi Zuzi, thanks from me too. I think this was a great talk about how you can take the changes by using an agile method into the organization. Do we have any questions? I don't see any at the moment, but I wrote a question down because when you said the managers are becoming afraid, I was writing down that they can no more hide. And I think this is something which you restated at the end when you said it breaks the walls between the people and groups.
Yeah,
so
I
this
think
means,
it's...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that case. We are breaking the walls, they cannot hide anymore. So they cannot pretend it's not their responsibility, they cannot point to each other, so and they have to...
And I think it's the same as we experience with teams in an agile team, with persons in an agile team, because you are observed more closely by the whole team, and therefore you cannot pretend to be something else. And this is something which Gitte said in her talk, that it is be yourself is a good idea if you are an agile coach. It's also a good idea if you're a manager or even if you're a normal team member, because otherwise you will not have a good time in your team.
Yeah, totally agree. Being yourself is the most important if you have any role ever, but being a manager, it's a must. You can't be a manager pretending something. They will find out anyway, and they will not respect you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you once again for your talk.